The Villain's Demand reviews Deadpool, written by Jerry Duggan and art by Mike Hawthorne.
Hey guys, this is The Villain's Demand. I'm Evan the Great. This is Justin Von Doom. This is Hero Man. Today we're going to give you another comic book review over Deadpool, Volume 4, Issues 1 through 5.
The book starts off and you get to see Deadpool, in my opinion, not really acting like Deadpool. He comes flying in from a helicopter through the sky on like some gliders, lands on a window, cuts the window open, all quietly sneaks in. He's trying to hack into a safe. All that's fine and dandy, but Deadpool would have just slammed through the window, got up, like threw thermite on the thing. It would have been, you know, because it's Deadpool. So it's a little out of character. Then you find out that White Fox shows up. She's been waiting for him. They start fighting. She's not impressed, I guess you would say, while fighting Deadpool. And he's like, "You got powers. Why aren't you using them?" She's like, "I don't need them." Come find out she don't need them. Then by the time she's about getting beat, he takes off his mask. And the first thing I thought was, oh, it's Ryan Reynolds. Ends up being Solo, dressed up as Deadpool. And he kisses her, and then he takes the hard drive he's trying to steal. He jumps out the window, and he thinks he's all free and fine. And he looks up, and she slipped the hard drive back from him, and he just jumped out the window. Now, you know, he doesn't have it, so he failed the mission. Then it goes into showing all these different Deadpools. Shows two of them in an alley. And then it goes to showing just a couple different ones. Like one's got a hammer stopping someone from robbing a mall. And there's just a couple different ones. Ends up there's actually a Deadpool corpse. But they're calling themselves Heroes for Hire. In the corpse is Stingray, Madcap, Slapstick, Solo, Fool Killer, Terror, and at the very end of the book you get to meet Massacre. Unless you read the 3.1 version. So you get to find out that there's actually a Heroes for Hire group funded by Deadpool. This Deadpool is immensely rich. He's actually also funding the Avengers. And then they're on the roof and they're arguing with Deadpool because they're not making any money. They're doing these jobs, they're not getting paid for it. They got families and whatnot. And then boom, an arrow hits him in the chest. And he pulls it out and it's got a letter on it. He actually got served. He's got to go to court for using the name Heroes for Hire. Hawkeye served him. Which was a funny little bit between him and Hawkeye, because before this run, there's actually a comic, Hawkeye versus Deadpool, and Deadpool, knowing he's in a comic, references this. He's like, "You don't want another Hawkeye versus Deadpool," and as Hawkeye's running off. During all this, you get to meet Deadpool's wife, and she is pissed because she ain't seen him forever, because he's got the Heroes for Hires going on. He's now a new member of the Avengers. And so she's pissed and she's waiting for him. She shows up a couple different times through the book and she's like punching people in the mouth. She's thinking Deadpools are Deadpools and they're not. They're like a different Deadpool. She's like, "Well, if you see him, you let him know I'm going to kill him." So she is in the book. And then an old friend shows up at the Heroes for Hire building. They let him in. He goes up there. He's talking to Deadpool and he's telling Deadpool who killed his parents. And at the end of it, Deadpool goes to give him a hug and stabs him in the back. You find out, and he takes off his mask, you find out it's not Deadpool at all, it's somebody else, but it doesn't reveal who it is yet. He stabs him in the back. And then you find out that someone's trying to set Deadpool up. They're killing people, and they're doing it in his uniform, and you think, or the cops and everybody, it looks like Deadpool's murdering people, but he's not. The cops kind of believe him. So the only way to fish out the murderer is to go to jail. So Deadpool goes to jail. While he's on the bus, another Deadpool on the side of a building shoots a rocket at him. Deadpool gets out. He's got a key hidden. He unlocks his handcuffs, goes up on top of the building. He starts fighting this guy, and the guy's mainly running, not really a fight. Deadpool, throughout this time, he's talking about how he's lost his edge. He's not as good as he used to be. And that's when I really started noticing that, wait, this Deadpool's different. He don't have his boxes. You know, it's just normal Deadpool talking. So he doesn't have his boxes. And that's what he's talking about, that he's lost his edge without him. He's lost his edge without his other personalities. But with that being said, he finds out that whoever's impersonating him is dressed as Deadpool, and he sells Deadpool costumes. So he has his Deadpool corpse, which then changed their name to Mercs for money. instead of heroes for hire. He has them all change their uniforms a different color. They're like the rainbow.
Power Rangers.
Yeah, Power Rangers. And you got all these different ones. And then you find out that Stingray is secretly meeting with Steve Rogers, Old Man Steve. And they're kind of getting a feel for what Deadpool's doing here because they don't quite trust him. Stingray don't trust Madcap. He's like, we need to look into Madcap. So they go to his house. They're trying to talk to him, figure out what's going on. Madcap ain't having none of it. He likes to boot people in the nose. He tries to do it to Steve. Steve catches his finger. He chops his own finger off and jumps out the window. At this point, you kind of realize that Madcap's probably the one behind everything. It doesn't take long for Deadpool to figure out it's Madcap. And so then he gets his little group together. By this time, the city's going crazy. Madcap is making the whole city turn on itself, go into like violent fits of rage. They're attacking each other. So they got to stop Madcap. They end up finding him, the whole group. They have a big fight with him. Massacre shows up and just chops him all up. And they're going to try to put him in a box. He ends up reforming faster than they wanted. And he steals a Chitauri disintegration beam and ends up shooting himself with it because it destroys him out on molecule level. That way they can't capture him.
Molecular.
Yeah. And he'll come back. He believes he will come back, and I'm sure he will. He'll come back for it. That's kind of how he escaped at the end of it. And that wraps it up.
I didn't like this story. I was not big on it. I feel the whole, in my own opinion, with the whole Deadpool funding the Avengers, Deadpool's got his own shop, everybody's wearing masks, everybody's nuts over Deadpool. I feel like that's the metaphor for Marvel shoving Deadpool down our throats. I've talked about this before where I like Deadpool when he was just like the B-lister, as I refer to him, the Bruce Campbell of the Marvel Universe. I did think there was some interesting stuff in the book. I thought what I thought was cool was you mentioned Massacre. He shows up in 3.1. The whole book is in Spanish, so I don't speak Spanish. I know there was a Marvel app where you could probably went over that and read everything. I didn't take the time because I didn't want to read it in Spanish, and I read it on my computer. But I didn't care for the story. I didn't feel like it led anything on for the future. It kind of shows you that really, as I mentioned for like when we were at Secret Wars doesn't matter because I know this is almost a continuation from the last Deadpool book where Madcap had been stuck in his head and all this other crap. I just really didn't care for it at all.
And for me, it was like a 50-50 book. I didn't like Deadpool in the book. I don't know, maybe not having the word bubbles, not being as funny. There was some stuff that was funny, but he's more of a comedic action comic star, and it did feel like they're trying to push him all, hit us with every Deadpool thing they got. But there is stuff I did love about the story, and I didn't like the story in general that much, but I loved the other villains that worked for him.
Oh, mercenaries.
Yes,
Yeah.
They were cool. That's something that they can go off of. That's something they can push. Because I didn't know a lot of them. I didn't know who they were. And then I started reading about them, and then I found out they are existing characters. And I really like some of the characters, like Stingray and his, he's basically working for Cap, and he's trying to figure stuff out. I kind of like the way they pulled in, and I can't remember which one it is. He hires like a fake family.
Slapstick.
That was just crazy. And
Fits that character.
yeah, I like all the aspects of his minions. I guess I call them minions. And I like all that stuff. And I like, my favorite part is where he gets served, like he was talking about from Hawkeye. But
which is you said that, which is funny because he's like, that's the only team I've been in that you've not been in. Is that what he says? They make a reference to that. It's even really a comic book reference.
It was really funny to see like Luke Cage get mad, and he calls up Matt Murdock, and he's like, I'm sending the Punisher after him, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, like besides that, it was, like I said, it's like a toss-up book. It has some good stuff, some bad stuff. It just feels like he was all over the place with this book. I don't know, maybe to come together. I didn't like the beginning at all. I don't like White Fox. Just never have. I feel like they could do a better job. I'll take it back. There is one scene in the book I did like. It's where Deadpool is in the desert and he pops up and the guy's about to kill the kid.
Yeah.
He kills him and shoots the cameraman. I thought that was hilarious. And he comes back because Deadpool is about that. He's not about himself. he's always, he's always hoarding money, and he does this because he likes to do it. And it's weird watching this Deadpool do it because he's missing something the whole entire time, and you can just tell it's slowed the character down.
I liked it. I'm not going to give it a 10 or probably even an 8. But it was different. I think that's the main problem with the book. I thought the book was fine, and I think the book would have been a lot better if the main character wasn't Deadpool. Because you come to being accustomed to how Deadpool's supposed to act in a book. How his personality is supposed to be. And this is a serious Deadpool. This is a more trying to be a good guy, trying to do the right thing kind of Deadpool.
To alliterate there, where I say he's like the Bruce Campbell, he went from Bruce Campbell's Ash from Evil Dead to Bruce Campbell's Sam from Burn Notice.
Yeah.
A comical character to a serious character.
Yeah, and I can look past that a little bit because the book still had some highlights and it still has some hope. But being a Deadpool fan, I didn't expect this book to really tie into the universe and have all this stuff going on. Deadpool's books generally do just wrap around in themselves, and they the only way they tie into the universe are these off-the-wall obscure characters like his new Mercs for Money. A lot of these people people don't even know who they are. So I liked it in general. I wish they'd bring back the older Deadpool, like have something happen where he gets his boxes back, maybe gets someone put back in his head, like the Shield agent or whoever, Madcap, somebody back in his head. Because I like that play on Deadpool where he'll argue with himself, he'll argue with his different boxes. That typical Deadpool is what I felt the book was missing in a Deadpool book. They were missing the typical Deadpool.
There's some things I think they could have done to make this 5 issues interesting. Like I brought Massacre up, which you had said, the 3.1. Okay, so you've got Stingray, you have Madcap, Slapstick, Solo, Fool Killer, Terror. So there's 6 other guys besides Deadpool and Massacre. I would have liked to see more .1s or .2s between these with stories about those guys to why they're here. Which, I mean, that might play off into the future of the book. But I'd like to see more about that. Like, where did Deadpool meet them to bring this up to them? Instead of, where they had the big meeting. And then, where does Rogue fit in this? I brought that up a while ago. Rogue was in the beginning of the book. She was mad. She had left. I see where the book's got things set up for the future. Where you guys had mentioned, you didn't have the Deadpool that, that everybody loves. Where he talks about how he's lost his edge. I think maybe that's what the book is getting to. Is like, okay, well, Deadpool has been forced so much down your throats. It's almost like forced comedy. Like, I feel like it's kind of like Will Ferrell to me. I feel that he's forced in his comedy. Where he talks about where he's losing his edge, that maybe that book is going to take a turn and go back towards that. Maybe even hitting that, like, that's what the movie is about that comes out in a couple weeks. Where, where right now that woman is pushing for PG-13, where Deadpool's like, no, Deadpool needs to be hard R. Really, really bad. And maybe that's what he's getting towards with this book when he's talking towards it. Like, I need to go back to being regular Deadpool. Maybe that's what even the writer is going for.
Kind of touching with the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Because he knows. I mean, everybody knows Deadpool breaks the 4th wall.
Yeah. Which, I mean, and I don't care so much for breaking the 4th wall, but it's just Deadpool being Deadpool in general.
Yeah, he wasn't Deadpool in this book.
Yes.
And I thought that's what took away from the book. But the book did have its moments.
Yeah,
Like,
it had some moments.
I enjoyed the hotel fight where they're evicting the people, and they're just like slaughtering these people. Come to find out, the people they get paid by the bad guy.
Yeah.
And they were evicting like alien immigrants that lived
Illegal
there.
aliens, yeah.
That were hardworking people, had nowhere else to go, and they were evicting them. Stingray and Slapstick are up on the roof, and Slapstick, he gets tired of using his sledgehammer, so he breaks out his 2 little hammers. And someone like shoots at him, and he pokes his eyes out and rips his eyeballs out, and Stingray's trying to calm him down. He's like, "Hey, we're not about that. We don't kill people."
And that's why he rips his eyes out.
Yeah, and so you get that feel that some of these people on this team, they're bad. They're what Deadpool used to be. No hesitation, I'll put a bullet through your head. But then some of them are more of the hero type.
I'd say anti-hero, because they're like mercenaries. That's why I said I'd like to see like .1s on them, because some people, like, they bring up Mercenary and not Mercenary, Solo, Now, some of these guys have families, you know, and you
Yeah.
see you're getting a different side of those characters. So I'd like to see more point ones about the guys. I think that would be an interesting concept for a group of all these people trying to be Deadpool.
That was another thing I liked about the book is when they did go a little bit into all the families, they went into how like Slapstick was paying a family. He was paying to have like I guess a hooker to be his wife. He was letting a kid live in his house and pretend to be his kid. It goes into Full Killer not having the money or the funds to buy new guns, and so you know he's all pissed off about it. It goes into Terror not being able to pay Morbius, which I thought was a good introduction into the book for the surgeries and stuff that he does on him. At this time, Deadpool's wife busts in. She thinks it's Deadpool, finds out it's not. So it starts showing the actual troubles that the group's having.
Yeah.
You know, that they're not just wild mercenaries. They have families and they need this money too. Then you find out that Deadpool's funding the Avengers and they're doing fine. They're like ordering out food and stuff, and you know it's pissing them off. They're like, Deadpool's our boss too. Why ain't we getting this kind of money? So I kind of like how they touched on, you know, that these people are still, in a sense, they're still human. They still have lives.
Yeah.
They still have things they care about.
Yeah, I like all his henchmen and.
Well, can you call them henchmen?
No,
I don't know.
Not really henchmen.
They're employees.
They're employees. I like his employees, but that's where my line kind of draws. Like what I said, the book is kind of, you know, I like it. I don't like it. Is I like the fact that they are employees and they work with Deadpool, but I don't see Deadpool as a boss by no means.
I think that's kind of what they get into because his accountant and everything's there, you know, that he's not really cut out for that type of business.
And then they have the whole thing going on in the background where Deadpool actually killed his parents and they ain't telling him, and he's trying to hunt down who killed his parents. And that's what someone's going to bring up since Von Doom's here. I could have swore I saw Sabretooth in one of them panels.
You did, I believe.
Because I thought I saw him sitting there, and he goes, "I used to feel pity for Wade, and now I'm jealous."
Yeah. Yeah, you are completely right.
And I'm kind of thinking maybe he's going to come into play in the future issues.
Well, I mean, look how super famous and rich Deadpool is now in this book. So, I mean, he's got everything that most humans want.
I just don't want Deadpool. I don't want my Deadpool to be super rich and famous and act like.
I don't think he will be forever.
I want my comical. Speaking of that, I want my comical Deadpool to fight a balls to the wall badass Sabretooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like bring Sabretooth in that light and just let Wolverine step away since we don't have a Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have, you know, Laura as Wolverine and we have Old Man
They
Logan.
could be setting up
I mean,
as arch enemies.
Speaking of arch enemies, I think a lot of these guys in the Corps make better Deadpool enemies, than employees, like Madcap, which was great.
Yeah.
Most of the time you see Madcap as a Ghost Rider villain until here recently. And to bring that on, I thought a nice touch was, I can't even recall seeing his face. I was talking to you guys about that earlier. His face is real creepy. It reminds me of an alien, like a gray. And I thought that was really neat. And he really does make a good Deadpool. He fits what you want from Deadpool. And I know you guys don't know a lot about Slapstick, which he showed up during all the whole like Avengers Academy and stuff. And he got really morbid really quick. And he actually would make a really good Deadpool villain because he's got, where Deadpool, you've got like the violent type of funny comedy. He's a very dark type of comedy. You could make that. And with them two right there, I think that you could actually make them into, what they've taken is people that are nobodies and trying to make them somebody. And they've actually got a really good opportunity to do with those guys.
I like Slapstick in this book.
I do too. Because, like, I'm sitting there, I couldn't tell you the guy was Solo. Which, when he took his mask off, I thought, oh my god, Deadpool's kept a face after Secret Wars. And speaking of, I wonder if he remembers the Secret Wars that he was in originally. I wonder if that's going to get brought up.
It might.
But I could tell some guys who they were. Like, I could tell that one guy was Slapstick just by the way he's looked. I could tell the one guy was Madcap just by his face. Obviously, Stingray was very obvious.
Yeah.
And it was nice that they kind of made them themselves with still being Deadpool. And what was cool, what I thought was really cool about the book is when they had the Deadpool mask on, they had the yellow word bubbles like Deadpool.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was really neat. You know, almost in a way like where some of these guys really look like Deadpool to throw you off in a sense, like they were trying to.
There's a couple times I was trying to follow, like, which one is this? Is this the real one?
Yeah.
Besides, like, Madcap and Slapstick, they were obviously, they didn't look like him, but, like, people like Solo, they had the body types.
Yeah.
They kind of looked like him. Full Killer, Terror didn't, because he had the, like, fins that you could see. But a couple of them really did. Like you were saying, they looked like him. And it was kind of, sometimes it's hard to separate them. My favorite character in it, though, was Madcap.
Yeah.
I loved how he, like, throughout the book, he keeps killing people or taking their hats.
Yeah.
He's like, check out my new hat, y'all. It's all new.
Yeah, he's a perfect character
Yeah.
for Deadpool.
And I really enjoyed that. And every time you seen him, he almost had a different hat on, and he was trying to let his guys know about it. And I thought that was really cool.
See, like I said, with him and Slapstick, they are good villains, or even, just nemesis for Deadpool, instead of like Dracula, where here recently they've tried to push Dracula as like this big Deadpool villain. And to me, Dracula is not that type of villain for him. But Marvel's always every now and then try to bring Dracula to the forefront. And, like back in the day, he was like a very big villain, and that's not the type of villain he needs. Like Madcap is perfect, which I didn't read the last series of Deadpool, or maybe before that, even where he was stuck in the head. I don't know where that came from, but now I'm going to go back and read that because I thought that was a really nice concept. Just read that to see where I missed, because when we continue reading these books, I want to know the history of that, because he's a perfect villain for Deadpool.
Yeah.
Just how he is.
Well, when Madcap gets stuck in his head, they run into each other.
Have you read this? Okay.
They run into each other and they start fighting, and so then they just
I know with 4 they do.
Yeah,
they give you the backdrop.
They decide that, hey, we'll test ourselves, and they're just seeing who's got the better regeneration.
Was it like 4 Olden Son, or was it
It was
Foster, James
it was
Foster.
normal for.
Okay, so this goes back before.
Yeah, this is
James Foster.
This was before the Shield agent. What was her name?
I know the 4
The heavyset
timeline.
Shield lady. She got stuck in his head.
Oh wow, so this is further back in life. Oh.
Yes, it's before that.
Well, I got some backtracking.
And Thor fries him, and then when they reform, he's
yeah,
in his head.
Yeah,
that's why Madcap hates him, because he was
Yeah.
mean to him in his head.
yeah, because he thought they would mesh good together.
Yeah.
Like they were the same person, and Deadpool treated him like he treated everything in his head.
Yeah, and like an outcast, and he just wanted a friend. That's why he hated him. But a little bit about Madcap, because I looked him up. He was created by he's a big churchgoer, and his whole family was, and they were on a bus, and they were going to some event, and they hit a diesel that was carrying some kind of chemical for AIM, and it killed everybody in it, but it threw Madcap from the bus, and he landed in the chemical and laid there for hours. That's how he got his power.
Your typical origin for a villain or hero.
Yes. And then he gets out, tries to commit suicide because his whole family's dead, and he lost his faith, of course. He doesn't believe in God anymore. He brings that up in this book. And so then he just goes on trying to figure out how to kill himself, and he can't. So that's when he just starts bringing terror to other people. And that's his main power. That's what Madcap mainly does. Is he when you look into his eyes, he basically sends you into a fit of rage.
Yeah.
But that's not his main power. But that's the only thing he uses his powers really for.
Yeah.
But he's actually, even in this book, which I didn't know this until this book, Deadpool says his regeneration is better than mine.
Which would, and I read that, the first thing I thought, then he literally has the greatest regeneration in Marvel.
Yeah.
Because Deadpool has been defined as that person, and now Madcap is. Which is actually a very good feat comic book wise. Because, where Massacre shows up, starts cutting him up, and all that other crap, man, and it's like his head was crawling back up, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And he's talking, he's like, he's going to get tired eventually, and I'll reform. He's not even worried about it. And then, like, another time they chop his head off again, and it falls, and before it hits the ground, it grabs onto his leg and starts crawling back up. So not only does he have regeneration, he can control his body apart. Because, like, his head's over there, and that's how he gets the...
He's very much like Mr. Sinister.
Yes. Yeah. Or like a Clayface.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And so he could be an actual really powerful villain, because you can't defeat him.
Well, and the amount of stuff they could do to each other, you could really go far. Yeah. In a battle with them, too. I mean, the amount of stuff you could bring to the table would be insane.
And it goes to show how powerful he could be, that the way they were going to beat him was to put him in a box that was built to compete.
Yeah, Stingray had talked about it,
a box that he couldn't get out of. A metal box, because you can't kill him. He always regenerates. I mean, what do you do?
Did they say they were going to freeze him, too? Is that what they said they were going to do? I think that's what I assumed they would do with that, because
I don't remember.
They had the hole cut in the box.
Yeah,
and they were going to put the body parts in.
Yeah.
So I would assume that wouldn't hold him forever. I mean, I would assume they would freeze him or something.
Well, they talked about the box was built to be dropped in the bottom of the sea.
Oh,
that
that's
Namor could live
right. Yeah,
so
right.
They were probably
that
going
was
to
a
drop
trap
him
for Namor. Yeah.
They were probably going to drop him in the sea too. So I thought, to me, Madcap is the only reason this book was as good as it was because of Madcap.
I think he is a highlight of the
Yeah,
book.
and then a close second was Slapstick. I really enjoyed his character.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And he reminded me of almost like a crazed Joker. You know what I mean? Like he could be, but not quite as evil. Like his look, he had the poofy hair and it went up. He reminded me of a bad clown, like something a kid would be scared of.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I really liked him.
And then the book overall, for me, well, these great books. Like I said, I liked some of it. I didn't like some of it, but I didn't hate any of it. I just didn't like it. But I know that they're probably going to change some of this stuff as it goes because it's Deadpool and the movie's coming out. But if I had to give it a grade, I would grade it a 6, probably a 6 out of 10, because of. But most of the 6 is coming from, like I said, the court members, is what I'm gonna call them, and you know, Madcap being one of them. I really liked all that, and I liked the Stingrays, you know, kind of infiltrating through Steve Rogers, and I really like how everybody got pissed when he took Heroes for Hire. I thought that was the best part, the funniest part of the book. It was great.
There wasn't
And
a lot of comedy.
There wasn't. And
But-
you kind of got Heroes for Hire. Sorry, you
go ahead.
got your Heroes for Hire going on, so you know you got Daredevil and Luke Cage keeping an eye out on what Daredevil's doing, or what Deadpool's doing, and then you know you got Steve watching out, and then you also got Sabretooth watching out. So there's a lot of different stuff besides the main villain, who I think they should open up with more, which is Madcap.
Well, the question is when do they bring Madcap back? Because, like you said, he was even curious himself if he could come back from
Yeah.
a molecular level. He assured himself. So I would assume at some point he has thought that out.
Yes.
Like, you know, how long it would take him. Because basically he's going to atomize himself. And you go to atoms, the wind's going to spread him around. So it could literally take a while for him to come back.
Yeah, that's how he escaped.
Yeah.
That, when they couldn't catch him.
Because he, like I said, he had been planning it out.
Yeah, and he talked about that Deadpool wasn't sure if he could come back from it.
Yeah.
He thinks that might be the one thing that can kill him. So that just once again goes to show the testament of what his regeneration really could be.
Grading myself, man, I give it like a 3, maybe a low 3. Because like I said, in the last couple of years, man, I feel like they shoved Deadpool down our throats so much, and I miss the old Deadpool. You know,
He's the new Wolverine.
man, you know, he's more like a new Spider-Man.
Well, this Wolverine there through the 90s and 2000s. It's like,
Yeah, and everything.
And now it's Deadpool.
Oh, I was going to bring something up. When you were doing the review, you know, you break down the book, and you said, you know, he was being not very Deadpoolish at all. Well, you know what? in the beginning, I thought he was, because I thought, wow, this is a blatant ripoff of The Dark Knight, where he goes to China.
Oh.
And I was like, in a sense, it is because where's he at? I think he was in China.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is Deadpool. And I got really excited in the beginning of the book because I'm like, wow, he's blatantly ripping off. Like, I could see him sitting there with his chimichangas and his Hot Pockets with his B. Arthur picture watching Dark Knight. He's like, man, that is cool as shit. I gotta do that. And then, that's the first thing I thought when I thought this. Is like, man, he's blatantly ripping off the Dark Knight movie. And then that's when I thought, when I read it, I thought, man, this is going to be really good. And then, like I said, it was just slowly disappointed me.
It was hard. It was hard to follow, like to get attached to, and nothing ever really brought you in. But with me being a Deadpool fan, me being able to look over it, I'll still grade it at about a 7, because I can look past some stuff, and I look at some other stuff in the book that I did like, the characters, and I see this book being a springboard for something better, because like you were saying, he talks about losing his edge, and maybe that has something to do with the movies, about why it can't be PG in the movies, and why really his comics can't be like that, because that's not who Deadpool is. But I agree with you 100%. My favorite Deadpool is the old Deadpool. That's the Deadpool. That's one of my biggest claims to being a Deadpool fan. Everybody likes Deadpool. I'm like, I like Deadpool before
Deadpool's cool.
Before Deadpool was cool. I like Deadpool then, and then he got popular, and he just blew up. And then, like you were saying, sometimes it feels like they try to force him on you because he is so popular. Some of his books are still good. Then some of them are like this. But then Deadpool's also that character that you can kind of have a bad book. Not necessarily this one, but like Deadpool's Secret Wars, you can put him in a bad book and not really tarnish his name because of who he is. That's what Deadpool's always been known
Well,
for.
sometimes a bad book fits his character, though, too,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, the first book I ever read with Deadpool was my buddy lent it to me. He was like, "You gotta read it. It's awesome." There's not one word in it. It was a bet between the writers that who could they do a comic with and not say one word. And this Deadpool the whole time he doesn't have his voice, and that's the entire book. You just flip and watch him fight and
It's a
stuff.
silent issue.
Yeah, it's just a silent issue. And that was the first book I ever read, and I was like, you know, if they can do that with a character, I want to read about it. And so then I started reading a little bit of Deadpool, and that's how I got into Deadpool. So if you can do that with a character, you can just about put him anywhere, and you know, kind of go with the flow. It might work, it might not.
I think the flow's horrible.
Give me MODOK.
Man, okay, yeah. Like we were talking about during MODOK Assassin Secret Wars. Throw him in this. Because obviously, you know, Old Man Logan's around.
Yep.
Why can't you have MODOK in this book? Please, if you watch this, tag, I don't remember the guy's name who writes this book, Duggan or whatever his name is. Tag this dude in this. I'll tag him in it on Twitter. They need to bring that MODOK in here. Because he's perfect.
Yep.
I would even laugh if he was trying to put a Deadpool costume on.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh, could you imagine
yes,
him
it was
flying
so
around with a
funny.
big yeah, just a Deadpool, you know? It'd be perfect. Because, you know, the way that book is written is what you would expect
Yeah.
at Deadpool.
Yeah.
And, you know, which I mean, okay, you know, all these Marvel books that are starting out are starting grounds. You know, Secret Wars has happened. I think they're all taking place 8 months, you know, earlier. Well, later. And I'm
Yeah, later.
pretty sure there's got to be a jumping point to where they're going to cover that 8 months. And then maybe that'll help fix this book. I'm sure the future will help fix this book. There's enough that you see written in it that will help it out in the future. Like I said, when he literally said, you know, I'm losing my edge, and he is angry about it. You know, he's tearing apart all them pictures and stuff of him. And maybe, hopefully, here in towards the end, you're going to get that. I don't want to be an Avenger. I want to be the Merc with the mouth.
Yeah. Because there for a while they've been doing that, giving Deadpool a wife. He found out he has a family. He's getting friends. He's doing the hero thing. It's been a pretty sharp curve from what we're used to from Deadpool.
Well, you say that, and I feel like I almost feel like they're setting up like Spider-Man. They give Spider-Man so much so they can take it away to make
Yeah.
you love the character, make him relatable to your day-to-day person, and then take it all away from him. And then maybe that's what's going to drive him to going back to the Merc with a mouth.
I'm thinking maybe Deadpool in this book, the way they're writing him is, this is all the stuff he wanted. He thought it would be fun
And it's not what he
to
wants.
be
really.
this. He thought it'd be fun to do this. And eventually he's going to say, hell with that. He's going to go back to being what's been fun this entire...
In a way, it also makes him related
Yeah.
to the rest of the guys that's in his group in a way.
Yeah.
Because they're almost the same way. You know, we're Solo and his family, Slapstick wanting a family. I mean, in a way, it kind of makes him relatable to some of those guys, and where they still want to have that and still be themselves. You know.
Yeah.
Be their own band of misfits.
That's about it for Deadpool. Like I said, I've graded the book extremely low. They've graded it about midway, but we're going to continue covering the book as it comes out. We're the Villains of Man, Justin Von Doom, it's Hero Man, it's Evan the Great. You're watching this on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Tweet this book out. Let's get MODOK Assassin in it. Keep reading, guys.